Greetings guys, girls, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. I am currently sitting in front of 7 boxes of K-pop albums because I moved into a new place a few days ago. We don't have any furniture and a bunch of boxes that we did not label, so there's a lot of stuff that I don't know where it goes. And then all of this in the corner of the room that will be the lounge where I am currently sitting, because I don't know where I'm going to film here yet. I guess I'll figure that out when we have stuff. I'm sitting in front of a big open window and the blinds don't work, so everyone can see me. So that's really fun. But I have my microphone back, I have my lights back, and it's fantastic, it's good, and I'm ready to go. You didn't ask for a life update, but you got one anyway. You're welcome. What are we doing today? That's what we really should be talking about. Today, we are going to be watching a Paul and Morgan video because I have been meaning to make one of these pretty much since I started uploading 2 years ago. I've been wanting to make a video about Paul and Morgan and I just keep not doing it. But today is the day. And the video we are specifically going to be talking about today is Demi Lovato says that they feel like a she again. And the reason I chose this video is because Demi Lovato released a new album recently and I just got around to listening to it and it's a banger, as usual. Demi is so crazy talented. So she was on my mind and I was going through Paul and Morgan's channel and I stumbled upon it and I was like, this is a good one to do. So that's what we're doing today. For some background on my Demi Lovato feelings and knowledge, in year 10, which was 8 years ago now, oh my good lord, I did my speech on them. So I had to spend a lot of time like researching, learning all about her life. She's just someone that I've always admired and is super, super talented. And she was a really big inspiration to me when I was younger and going through like my eating disorder and depression and all of that, while also wanting to pursue a music career. And her voice is like literally so unbelievably incredible. Anyway, it's not Demi Lovato praise time, those are my thoughts and feelings. So yeah, let's get into the video because I've been talking forever. I need to get better at these intros because there's a reason why people don't watch my videos and why I'm not getting any more subscribers, and that's because I can't ever stop talking. And I also haven't taken my meds, so that's probably not helping. Subscribe.
Demi Lovato, the Disney princess turned, well, she was a non-binary, and now not so much.
So firstly, we want to start off and say that just because someone changes their pronouns doesn't mean they're changing their gender. Demi can add she, her to her pronouns without identifying as a woman. You can be non-binary and use she, her pronouns. Pronouns do not equal gender.
She was on a podcast, yes, and it's about a minute-long clip. She is sharing where she is at in regards to her life/gender journey.
I've actually adopted the pronouns of she, her again. So for me, I'm such a fluid person. I felt like, especially last year, my energy was balanced and my masculine and feminine energy. So that when I was faced with the choice of walking into a bathroom and it said women and men, I didn't feel like there was a bathroom for me because I didn't feel necessarily like a woman. I didn't feel like a man. I just felt like a human. And that's what they, them is about for me. It's just about like feeling human at your core. Recently, I've been feeling more feminine. So I've adopted she, her again. But I think what's important is like, nobody's perfect. Everyone messes up pronouns at some point. And especially when people are learning, it's just all about respect.
I just want to say straight off the bat, I think it's really cool that Demi has like taken the time to learn about herself and like connect with her femininity to the point where she feels comfortable with it, while also, you know, embracing masculinity and nonconformity and just finding themselves through that like journey, because gender is fluid. It is made up. Gender is not a real thing. And so figuring that out and playing with it until you feel like you found yourself and you feel comfortable within it, that's something that I think is really cool. And, you know, a lot of people don't think that you can do that. It's a very like black and white decision because of the way, you know, society is. There is a binary, thus the word non-binary, and there are societal norms and there are gender norms. And I think so it can be really confusing navigating through that if you don't feel like you fit anywhere, whether that be due to society standards or how you feel internally or etc. I think some people can get confused between it, and like taking the time to figure that out and like really getting to know yourself, I think is like really cool. Anyway, carrying on.
Like I think of her 5 years ago. She was coming out of the Disney.
It's been a decade. It's been a decade since Demi left Disney.
But is she still relevant in the sense of like she is putting out good art, or she's doing something that keeps her relevant other than just kind of making these
coming out making these weird statements.
These weird gender statements.
I mean, they released an album a few weeks ago called Holy Fuck, and you would hate it. Especially that song. You would hate that song. Holy Fuck is a song. It's if you haven't listened to the album, you should. It's like old school Disney rock, and I live for it. But Holy Fuck, the song is basically just like, when you have sex with me, it's a religious experience. Yeah. Anyway, they would hate it, and I love that.
Like, this is kind of embarrassing and actually kind of dangerous, because you have a huge platform. You've got young boys and girls following your platform.
Changing your pronouns is not dangerous, and it won't ever be dangerous. It's literally just a word that is used to identify yourself and that is used to address you. Pronouns are this really interesting thing of like, they're identifiers, right? And gender isn't real. That's something I've said already, and I will continue to say it. But it is real because we're real and we live in this world. It's like money. It's a concept, it's made up, but it is also very real, you know? And so pronouns, although they don't equal gender, they are very closely linked a lot of the time. And so people will sometimes experiment with pronouns because they don't feel entirely themselves in the ones that they currently use, whether those be the ones assigned to them at birth or the ones they felt comfortable with at that period of time. People just test it out to see what makes them feel comfortable. And changing them and mixing them up also doesn't impact you, and it's not a dangerous thing to do. It's kind of important to tell people that they can do that. You don't have to make a decision and have it set in stone. You can just be like, I feel like this is going to work for me. I feel like this is who I am. And if after a while you realize, actually no, that's not who I am, then that's okay. And if you tell people they can't do that, they're less likely to step out and figure themselves out because they're afraid of making a mistake and they think they're not allowed to make those mistakes.
Someone in the live says, how is it dangerous to express herself? The reason I feel like it's very dangerous with what she's doing is because you have these young boys and girls, these young teenagers who are following Demi, who are like, oh, she's embracing herself. I'm going to embrace myself too. I don't feel like a girl. I want to be a boy.
People don't change their genders because a celebrity does. Come on now, be serious. That's not a thing that happens. If you see a spike in young people coming out as trans or non-binary or whatever after a celebrity does and they say that they inspired them, it's not that, oh, Demi Lovato is non-binary. I want to be like Demi Lovato. I'm non-binary too. No, it's people who are already non-binary but like afraid to come out or afraid to accept that about themselves, realizing that they can do that. It's gaining courage from them doing it. They were already non-binary. They were just inspired to embrace that because someone they look up to did. That's all it is. People coming out inspires other people who are already queer to come out because it's telling them it's okay. Someone you look up to is there with you. And so you feel safer and more comfortable. You don't just pretend to be queer because this person you look up to is. Like, come on. I'm a big Demi fan. Them coming out as non-binary did not make me question my gender because I've never questioned my gender.
I'm going to get a mastectomy and start taking hormone blockers, and they've literally destroyed themselves, and then come to find out, wait, Demi doesn't feel like a they them anymore. She's back to she her, but I'm stuck. Like, I can't undo what I've done.
No one is getting surgery because a celebrity says that they're trans. What? That, one, wouldn't happen that quickly. Two, just wouldn't happen at all. And three, detransitioners are so rare, and I promise you, none of them are because of Demi Lovato, who, by the way, is still non-binary. I don't know why you're talking about this as past tense. She adds she, her pronouns back into being used, and suddenly the non-binary identity has just disappeared. You can use she, her pronouns and still be non-binary. You can even use the word woman and still be non-binary. It's not as simple as just one thing. Non-binary isn't a third separate gender. Non-binary just means not man, not woman.
She comes out as this trailblazer of non-binary. Now I'm starting to feel more feminine. I'm back, I'm embracing she, her again. Granted, I think on her Instagram, she has they, them, she, her.
Yeah, because they're still non-binary. I don't know why you can't wrap your head around the fact that pronouns and gender aren't the same thing. They're not the same thing. I'm sorry that you're confused, but maybe just pay attention. Because not everything is binary. It's not all binary. That's literally the point. It's literally the point. She said that she identifies closer to her femininity than they did before, and they've embraced more of that, and they feel closer to their feminine side, so they have embraced they, them again. That doesn't mean their masculinity has disappeared, and their connection to their masculinity and androgyny. Is that a word? Androgyny? I don't know if that's the correct word. But it doesn't mean that the other parts of their gender identity or lack thereof have disappeared. It just means that on the spectrum, where they identified more in the middle before, they're just slightly further this way. Feminine, masculine, completely non-conforming. They're just more in the middle of these two. So it's they, them, she, her. I don't know why you're trying so desperately to not understand. Or even if you don't understand, why do you care so much, man?
They, them to me, right. I was just flabbergasted when I heard it the first time.
Flabbergasted. When I heard they, them used for the first time, I was flabbergasted. What a good word. What a good word. I love that word. I'm going to start using flabbergasted more often.
And I'm reading articles that don't make grammatical sense with Halsey or Demi up till a week ago.
Ridiculous.
Where it's literally Demi Lovato says they are no longer, and it's wait, no, what? That's plural, singular.
I don't know why and how they, them is so confusing for so many people. It's plural. It's not a singular word. Typically allows you to figure it out. If there's one set of pronouns being used and it's they, them, their, you know what they're talking about. You know who they're referring to. There's literally nothing else it could be talking about. It doesn't take that long to figure it out and understand. Okay, if it's slightly confusing at first, fine, I'll give it to you. But you haven't taken the time to understand how it works because you refuse to comprehend something that's very easily comprehended. The only time when it is slightly confusing is in specific instances when people do have multiple sets of pronouns, such as Demi, such as Halsey. It can be slightly confusing because they alternate between the pronouns, which is easy enough when you're talking about one person, but when you have two people who both switch their pronouns, it can be slightly confusing. Jumping in here to say, actually, you know what? This isn't even just true for people who switch their pronouns. It's confusing when talking about any two people who use the same pronouns in a sentence. She did this and then she did that. Which she? Who are we talking about? I don't know. That's something that's confused me my entire life, and I get myself confused when I'm writing sentences. It doesn't matter if they use they, them, doesn't matter if they use multiple sets of pronouns. Just talking about people referring to them with pronouns in general is confusing, and that's why some languages just use names, which, honestly, helpful, because it's hard to follow sometimes. Even when talking about like Halsey and Demi and other people who use multiple sets of pronouns, if you're only talking about one person, it's really not that difficult to follow. Like, I've been switching her pronouns this entire video, and I am sure you have all been able to keep up with who I am talking about, because I am referring to singular one person throughout this. So who else would I be talking about? You know? You can't be confused reading like they did this, then they did that. If you know that it's only talking about one person, I'm not like suddenly randomly bringing up another person. Just use your brain for 3 seconds, please.
A question I have is, can we change pronouns / gender identity based off how we feel from season to season?
You can change your pronouns from season to season because, as we talked about before, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Pronouns are a word that you use to identify yourself. And so, like, literally it doesn't impact anyone else. Just use whatever is comfortable for you at the time. Like, who cares? It's just a word that you use to identify yourself. And if it makes you feel comfortable and makes you feel happy, that's great. Go for it. As we said, gender isn't real. It's a made-up concept. And people are just trying their best to figure out how to deal with that because we've gotten sick of being put in boxes. We're past the fact of being put in boxes. And so people are trying their best to figure out where they fit outside of the boxes that we've been forced into. And sometimes that can take a little bit of playing around and experimenting and trying to figure out what goes on because it's confusing and it's annoying. And so, yeah, change your pronouns based on how you're feeling. Try to figure out who you are and where you fit. You can change your pronouns as many times as you like. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, and again, pronouns don't equal gender. You can be non-binary and use he, him. You can be non-binary and use she, her. You can do whatever. As long as you feel comfortable and it feels right to you, I really don't think it should matter.
If I started painting my nails, growing my hair out and putting it in pigtails, wearing dresses like Harry Styles, I'll tell you what, I would start feeling more feminine. And I keep going down that road and having people calling me she, her. And suddenly, guys, I'm trans because this is who I really am.
You could start wearing dresses and painting your nails and doing all these very typical feminine things. You're just listing all the things that you expect of a woman, which is very funny. But you don't feel the urge to do that, do you? Like, you don't want to do that. You don't feel like you need to express your femininity. That's not something that's important to you. That's not something you have a desire to do. So therefore, you don't feel feminine. You're not going to decide to use she, her pronouns. People aren't going to refer to you as such because you don't feel that way. You're like, yeah, if I started doing all this feminine stuff, I would feel feminine. Yeah, but you're not gonna start doing the feminine stuff because you don't feel feminine. So I don't know what point you're trying to make here. And I love that you used Harry Styles as an example because he is a cisgendered man. He wears dresses, he paints his nails, he does his makeup, and yet he's still a cisgendered man. So I don't know what point you were trying to prove there, other than the fact that you can express femininity and still identify and be a man, as you can be a woman who expresses a lot of masculinity, because, say it with me, gender is made up. All these ideas of what masculinity and femininity are is all just these freaking stupid boxes that we've decided to create and put people into. You can express yourself wherever you want, however you feel, and it doesn't impact your gender. Only how you feel on the inside expresses your gender. You can be the most feminine person in the entire world and still be a man. There's a difference between acting feminine and feeling feminine, if you know what I mean. One is like expressing yourself in the way that like society views femininity and womanhood, which is just an aesthetic that you like. It's just something that you enjoy. It's something that you connect with. And then there's like feeling feminine, like internally, as something that you really connect to. And those are two different things. I don't really understand how it's so hard to figure out and why you care so much, but like your example makes no sense because it kind of almost shows that you get it. Because you don't have the urge to dress feminine. So, like, obviously you're not going to understand the gender struggle. You've never questioned your gender because you've always fit inside the man box. Because you are masculine. You enjoy your masculine qualities. And you've never had the desire to do anything outside of that man box that you have been put in and that you've decided you're comfortable in. Which, cool for you. But obviously, you don't know how it feels to, like, feel like you want to break out of that. So shut up, maybe. You always come down to these people being like, so many people are trans now and it's all over the internet and it's making everyone trans. I am very deep in the queer community and the queer side of the internet, right? Like, I see a lot of trans conversation. I see a lot of trans issues. I talk about it a lot. But I'm not trans, and I've never felt the need to explore that. I've never felt confused about my gender, even though I am surrounded by this gender conversation, because it's not something that people tend to question unless it's a feeling that they've always had. Your surroundings and the people around you and what you're being told about gender only impacts you if it's something that you're already questioning.
Because we were talking to someone very close to us who was saying, like, it doesn't really affect me to get up and state my pronouns, or people are saying to just call them what they want. Mm-hmm. And it was a little bit more of a tricky subject when it was simply he, she. But now you got this interchangeable they, them. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, no. I'm sure there are Christians that are going to be watching this, people that claim to be Christians that say, no, it is loving. Call them they, them. I don't see that as loving. I see that as adding to the problem and going against the biblical mandates of he created them male and female.
I don't know why people are so set on protesting using the correct pronouns for people. Like, people just tell me to get over it and use them and just respect people. But I don't want to do that because I don't want to encourage this behavior. What impact does it have on you? It's against my God. Well, not everyone believes in your God. Just respect them as a person. I'm sure your God won't mind. And if your God has a problem with you respecting other people, maybe you need a new God.
I do want to have grace for Demi Lovato, who has been in the spotlight of a child actor that came up through Hollywood. My goodness, you don't see many that turn out right, that do that. You just don't.
The implication here that Demi's gender identity struggle is the thing that came out of her childhood in the spotlight is absolutely insane to me. The worst thing about Demi coming up through Hollywood is the fact that they've taken the time to learn about themselves and finally have become comfortable within themselves and expressing themselves. That's the worst thing that happened, not the severe eating disorder that was like near lethal, or the self-harm, or the drug addiction from a really young age that put her in rehab several times and almost died of overdose multiple times. That was like really minor stuff compared to the fact that after all of that happened and she's taken the time to heal and done self-reflection, they've actually decided and realized that, hey, one of the reasons I'm really upset is because of religious trauma making me feel like I have to repress who I am. Definitely the worst part of all of that, not the like nearly dying several times.
I saw a couple of people saying that this is indicative of her being narcissistic. For her to try to proclaim her pronouns. When you start really diving into the gender pronouns, gender identity stuff, and proclaiming your identities and switching pronouns, it is a very self-obsessed game.
How is asking someone to refer to you in a specific way being self-obsessed and like selfish, and not you arguing against them and saying it's against your beliefs to refer to them by a word? Like, one of these sounds more self-obsessed than the other. One is them being like, hey, just by the way, can you please refer to me as they, them? And then shutting up and never saying it again unless you say it wrong and they're like, remember. Why is that self-obsessed, but not you being like, actually, no, I don't think that's a real thing because I think it's really confusing and it's against my religion, so I will not be referring to you in a way that makes you happy and comfortable. Because that sounds much more self-obsessed to me. I also love that they're talking about how it's narcissistic for someone to use they, them pronouns, and yet they're sat here making a 20-minute video about how they don't like that someone's using they, them pronouns. Like, who's obsessed with whose identity? I think that you're much more obsessed with their identity than they are, because you've made like 5 videos in the past year just about pronouns, and so it really sounds like you're the ones who thinks your opinion matters more, because like all other people are doing is saying, hi, I identify with this word, please use it to refer to me. And sometimes they talk about it more because people have questions, people want to know why, and they want to share their experience so other people know that it's okay and other people feel less alone. Whereas you're just here like, I don't like it. For like 3 hours. We get it. You're flabbergasted.
We're not saying you, Demi, you got to become a Christian. Blah, blah, blah. We hope you become a Christian, but we are going to speak truth.
This is so funny to me. Because Demi literally has a cross tattoo right here so that when they're singing and holding a microphone, everyone can see that God is with her. She literally has a tattoo for that because of how Christian she is and how much she loves God and believes in God and her faith in Christianity. So it's kind of funny that you're out here like, Demi, I hope that you become Christian. I hope that you embrace Christianity. Honey, she was very Christian. But people like you like to scare people away because you tell them that they aren't welcome in their religion. Clearly, you don't believe that she is able to be Christian because of the way they live their life, and you think it's not okay and not very Christian or godly to use alternative pronouns, to be trans, to be queer, or whatever. So people leave because people don't like that. People want to be able to express themselves and feel the way that they feel and be who they are. So you're the reason that less people are Christian nowadays. Demi literally has a song on their newest album, which is all about religious trauma and how they spent so long hating themselves and fighting against themselves and not being able to live as their authentic selves and just having a really shit time because of the box that their faith put them in. And it's a really, really good song. It's called Heaven, and it's an absolute banger. You would hate it, Paul and Morgan. You would absolutely hate it, but I think it's fantastic. I think it's an absolute banger. But yeah, you are the reason that people leave Christianity because it's not accepting and people want to be able to be themselves, and you are restricting them from that. So if you want more people to be Christian, to be godly, maybe extend out your welcome and realize that people are gonna be who they want to be, and how they live their lives has no impact on you at all. Let them live their lives the way that they want to, and you can live your life the way that you want to, okay? This has been my video. It was way longer than it was meant to be. I keep doing that. I keep sitting down and talking for like hours and hours, which I am not meant to do, but here we are. Yeah, I hope that you did enjoy. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons, whose names are up on the screen right now. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. Wolf, Toulouse, Bobby, Sparrow, Josh, Mandy, Robbie, Christy, Ikazel, The Alienated Librarian, Skylar, and Ishtar Hope. I love and appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/savvycat. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos a day early, and then upwards of there, you get more stuff as, you know, Patreon works. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. Subscribe, hit like, comment, subscribe, and I'll love you forever. Subscribe to my second channel, Kiwi with a Q, and the podcast, Savvy Cat Productions, and I have so much stuff to promote now. Oh my god. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.